Hello and good afternoon. My name is Ellen Benzine. I'm an account manager with SwipeClock, and I have the pleasure of demonstrating ApplicantStack Onboard to you all today. We still have a few people signing in. Let's go ahead and let them get settled in, and I will be back with you in a couple minutes. Thank you. All right, it's a couple minutes past the hour, so let's go ahead and get started. Again, thanks to all of you for participating in the ApplicantStack Onboard webinar this afternoon. With me, I have Brandon Peterson, who is also an account manager for SwipeClock, and Lauren DeSimone, who is from our marketing department. So again, welcome to all, and let's go ahead and get started. Actually, before we get started with the onboarding demonstration, I'd like to just introduce you all to a series of webinars that we're conducting. The first of which is being initiated on July 26th at 11 a.m. You should be able to see that on your screen now. They are entitled Workforce Hub University Webinar Series. And ApplicantStack is one of a suite of products that SwipeClock offers to address your HR challenges and to provide solutions. But many of you on this webinar may not know that we also offer time tracking and scheduling and HR management features within the product that we have entitled Workforce Hub. So should you have interest in attending this webinar series, please go ahead and scan the QR code that you see on your screen. And then Lauren is also going to add the link to register for Workforce Hub University in the chat box as well. I'll go ahead and leave that up there for just a minute. Again, if you miss scanning the QR code, the link to register for Workforce Hub University will also be in the chat. All right, let's go ahead and get started with ApplicantStack onboarding. I am flipping to my ApplicantStack Recruit homepage. You should all be seeing that. It's my demo account. Just to mention before we get started, after the onboarding webinar and demonstration, we will open it up to questions that you may have, and those questions can be anything ApplicantStack. So we'll be able to answer your questions live. If you do have a question during the webinar or after, feel free to go ahead and raise your hand and put it in the questions box, and we'll address those questions at the end of the onboarding demo. Once again, you should be seeing my ApplicantStack Recruit homepage. And the reason why I'm starting here, even though this is an ApplicantStack onboarding demo, is because ApplicantStack Recruit and ApplicantStack Onboarding are integrated products. And if I move from my homepage to my candidates table, and I'm going to open up some filters here, because the candidate in ApplicantStack Recruit that we're working with this afternoon is me. So as you can see, here's my candidate record. My name is obviously Ellen Benzine, as mentioned before, and I am in the job offer stage in ApplicantStack Recruit. So if I move myself to the hired stage in ApplicantStack Recruit, it's the hired stage that is the trigger stage to move a candidate from ApplicantStack Recruit to ApplicantStack Onboarding. So when I submit this change, you'll notice that the onboarding workflow that I'm going to be part of or adhere to is the default workflow, and my onboard manager will be Faith Bliga. If I go ahead and confirm this stage change, you'll see that I am now in the hired stage in ApplicantStack Recruit. And if I click on my candidate record and then on the History tab, you'll notice that my details have now been pushed to ApplicantStack Onboarding. So if you have ApplicantStack Onboarding, in addition to Recruit, you'll see what I call a 3x3 square up here in the upper right-hand corner. I don't know if there's a more technical term for that or not, but when I click on my 3x3 square, I can switch products from Recruit to Onboarding. And you'll notice now that I'm on my ApplicantStack Onboarding homepage. So the user interface is very similar to that of ApplicantStack Recruit. Any announcements that we want to share with you would be in the announcements tile in the upper left-hand corner. Any emails that you receive from hires at this point in time would be under the activity summary, and any tasks assigned to you surrounding the onboarding process would show under the task summary tile. And then moving down, you'll notice that this is now the pipeline summary of your hires. So in ApplicantStack Recruit, on your homepage, it shows the pipeline summary of your jobs. This is now the pipeline summary of your hires. So you'll notice that these are the stages of my onboarding flow. These can be modified. However, we absolutely need the new stage because that's where candidates transition when they move to ApplicantStack Onboarding. And you can move your hires through the stages of your ApplicantStack workflow, of your ApplicantStack onboarding workflow as they complete those stages. Again, you can modify these stages to mirror your particular onboarding workflow. You'll see that there are candidates, or I'm going to correct myself, there are hires in the new stage and in the paperwork stage. And again, as you move your hires through the stages of your onboarding flow, you'll see those numbers change ultimately until they've completed the hiring process. I'm going to move across the top to the Hires tab. And let's see. So there is a delay apparently in my candidate Ellen Benzine moving to onboarding. So let's work with a different candidate. What we'll do is we'll work with Carter Roberts. But what this shows you is the high-level overview of ApplicantStack onboarding and where your hires are. So you'll notice Dave Jones has been assigned 11 tasks in onboarding, of which he's completed 0, or his completion rate is about 0%. Mitch Lyle has been assigned 7 tasks. He's completed 1 of his onboarding tasks, or about a 14% completion rate. And then you can see other candidates and where they are. This is what we call kind of the new hire overview view. You'll notice that P column here, and I do have premium texting in my ApplicantStack demo account. So that allows me to not only text my candidates in Recruit, but also my hires in onboarding. It allows me to trigger text at a stage change as well for automation purposes and efficiency reasons. I do have a field entitled Building Location. Again, these hire fields you can create, again, to mirror your particular requirements and your particular onboarding needs. All right, I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to backtrack to Recruit to make sure I did push myself to the onboarding stage. I am in the hired stage. Again, I'm just going to go look at the History tab. I was pushed to onboarding. Okay, so what that probably means is there's demand on our servers and that is why I haven't transitioned to onboarding yet. So let's go ahead and work with a different hire as mentioned earlier, and we will work with Carter Roberts. So when an individual is moved to onboarding, you need to populate their onboarding record. And you can do that in a variety of fashions. So let's go ahead and look at Carter's onboarding record. I just refreshed my screen. There I am. So I have transitioned. We're going to work with me and not Carter. So you can see that I have transitioned from ApplicantStack Recruit, and no tasks have been assigned to me as of yet, and I am just in the new stage. So if I click on my new hire record, any information that can be auto-populated from ApplicantStack Recruit will be. So again, that's the beauty of the integration between the two products. You're not rekeying contact and job information in a second time when a candidate moves to onboarding. I'm in the new stage. I've been hired as an executive assistant, and now I need to populate my onboarding record with those tasks that you want completed of your new hires. So let's just take a step back. And onboarding, as defined in our ApplicantStack world, is the electronic assignment of new hire paperwork. So you can add or you can request that your new hires complete the I-9, complete your state tax form, complete forms unique to your organization from the comfort of their home versus sitting in your conference room day one of employment. So as I scroll down, this new hire record has not been populated in any fashion. So if I come over here to the gray menu on the right, let's go ahead and start assigning onboarding tasks. So if I click on Add Form, you'll notice that these are the forms that reside in my library. So in order to assign a form to a new hire, it does need to be in your library. And the library in onboarding is very similar to the library in Recruit. They house those items that you assign and that you use time and time again, so you're not recreating those items. So if I go ahead and let's just pick the Illinois W-4, I will ask the hire to complete that. And once I submit that form, the hire record now shows that the 2020, this must be the latest because we update those forms as they change, Illinois W-4 has not been completed by the new hire, but has obviously been assigned. If I come back over here to the gray menu on the right, I can continue to add forms one by one by one, but that could get a little tedious. So a more efficient method of doing so is to add a checklist. So the checklist is the bundling of onboarding tasks. So if I click Add Checklist, these checklists, again, have already been created in my library, and I'll show you those in a minute, but I have 4 checklists from which to choose. So checklists can be created on type of hire. Is your hire an hourly employee? Is your hire a salaried employee? What state do they live in? Because obviously that would affect what state tax form you want to include in a checklist. So I live in the state of North Carolina. I am going to choose the new hire checklist for the state of North Carolina, and these are the tasks and forms that make up the checklist. So the federal W-4, the North Carolina state tax form, I-9, we collect VEVRA information, we collect CC-305 disability information post-hire, and a variety of other forms and tasks make up that checklist. So once I submit the checklist, again, I'm in my new hire record, you'll notice that my new hire record has now been populated. Welcome video has been included. Again, those state tax forms. This was the form that I actually added manually. But again, just to show automation, adding a checklist to a new hire record is far more efficient than adding form by form by form individually. And then the other thing I want to make note of is onboarding not only assigns, ApplicantStack onboarding not only assigns tasks to the new hire, but you can assign tasks to ApplicantStack users. I'm going to open up this filter. All right, and you can see now that there are 4 tasks assigned to ApplicantStack users. The 2023 W-4 and the I-9 are 2-part forms, and the hire needs to complete his or her part prior to, in this case, Faith Bliga, who is an ApplicantStack user, completing the employer side of those forms. So you can see the status is in pending order here. Faith can't complete her side of the form until I complete my side. Other tasks that have been assigned to other ApplicantStack users include ordering a uniform and providing a tour, for example, of your facility on day 1. So again, the beauty of onboarding is not only are you assigning onboarding tasks to your hires, you're also assigning them to other ApplicantStack users. You'll notice that there aren't any completed forms as of yet because I haven't completed them, or questionnaires. But as I scroll through my new hire record, you'll notice the section entitled Supporting Documents. So supporting documents in ApplicantStack onboarding are informational documents only. They don't require a signature. They don't require any sort of additional information. They're not dated. They're information that you want your new hires to review. So it could be an employee handbook. It could be a drug and alcohol abuse policy, as you're seeing here. We all know the I-9 might need some additional instructions in order to complete that. It could be a pay schedule. So again, supporting documents can be assigned to your new hires. They are informational documents only. You can add notes to your new hire record. That's a free-form field. Any emails that have gone out and any history will all automatically be tracked by ApplicantStack. So you can see here, I was imported from ApplicantStack Recruit on this date and time, and a checklist has been assigned as well as that manual form that I assigned. Now, so I've been talking about all of this, but there is automation in my demo account that you too can include in your onboarding account. So when I transitioned myself from ApplicantStack Recruit to ApplicantStack Onboarding, I triggered an email. So that's why you see this system email. The audit has automatically been captured by ApplicantStack, and it simply says, you know, we're excited to have you. Please look for an email explaining our company onboarding process. And because I also have premium texting, that message was also sent via text. So it went both email and via text. And again, premium texting, you can text on a stage change. So when I moved myself from recruit in the hired stage to onboarding in the new stage, that is considered a stage change. So right now, the new hire record has been populated, but I have no idea how to access it or that my onboarding portal is ready for me. So I'm going to show you how to do this manually. Again, this can be automated. So let me show manual first, and then we can talk through some automation as well. I'm going to move over here to the gray menu on the right and click on Email Hire. You'll notice a template comes up, and if you have worked in ApplicantStack Recruit, the email template here looks very similar to the email template in ApplicantStack Recruit. I'm going to choose a message. Again, the message has got to be in the library in order to choose it. And the message I am choosing is an email that says, welcome to the hiring process. So you'll notice that my message has been populated, and there's 3 very important pieces in this message. One of which is, since this is going to your new hire, you need to provide them their username, which is always their email account, or their email address, I should say. You must also provide them a system-generated password. And then this is the link to their onboarding portal. So when the new hire gets this email, they'll see the link, they'll see their username and password, and begin their onboarding process. And this message here can be modified to suit whatever messaging you want to promote during this welcome to email process. Welcome to onboarding process, I should say. So once I send this, it'll tell me the email was successfully sent. I can say, okay, great. I'm back in my portal. And again, that email will automatically be tracked via ApplicantStack. You can view the details of these emails, and you'll notice that information has been populated. So now your new hire gets the email and can start accessing their onboarding portal and completing the onboarding tasks that have been assigned. Now, I did send that email manually, as I just showed you, but you can also automate. And for example, when I move a candidate from the new stage to the paperwork stage, that email can be triggered and a checklist can be assigned. So again, there's quite a bit of automation that can take place to ensure efficiency here. But let's go ahead and view my hire portal. I'm down on the gray menu on the right. Last option says view portal. And if I click, this is what your new hires will see, something similar. You can brand your onboarding portal a little bit here. And this is your welcome message that you can also modify. Contact information shows, so if anything has changed, your new hire can edit their contact information. There's information on your manager, general information about the job for which you've been hired. And then the supporting documents will show. So again, these are those documents that are informational only. And then you'll notice the tasks that have been assigned to me as part of my onboarding process. So if I click on, let's say, the I-9, it's very intuitive. I can start my tasks. And what's nice about this is you'll notice the information is auto-populated. So again, what's happening here is your new hires will not need to input typically contact information and job information time and time again. Information has been populated, like I said. Your new hires can complete the I-9 information. And then what I want to make note of is this final cream colored box down here. This is a requirement for all electronic signatures that new hires, and really any signature requiring an ApplicantStack, candidates and hires need to check the box. And it simply says that they understand that an electronic signature is the same as a handwritten signature for validity, enforceability, and admissibility. That's hard to say. But again, that's an e-signature guideline, and I just want to make note that we do adhere to all e-signature guidelines. So once your new hire has completed all of your onboarding forms, you will see that progress through notifications if you have notifications on, and your high-level overview will also show the progress of your hires. Moving to the gray menu on the right, we've talked about most of the functionality. You can add a hire manually if an individual does not come from ApplicantStack Recruit. Just like in Recruit, you can search all your hires, you can export data. Again, I have texting in my account. So if I choose to text a hire, I have the ability to do so. And I think the numbers are close to 90% now that we are more likely by about, again, 90% to respond to a text than an email. So texting is an additional fee, but for $35 a month for basic texting, and that's per account, and $95 a month for premium texting, it's well worth it. You can add a task and a checklist. We've already discussed those. Let's say you're requesting a picture now for the company directory. You can add an attachment to any new hire record by simply choosing the files or any sort of supportive information you have the ability to do. That is the overview of transitioning a candidate from recruit to onboarding, and then populating a record. But let's move across some of these tabs up top. Emails and tasks are all system-wide, but we've talked about the library. So let's go ahead and take a deeper dive in the library right now. Any form that you need either an ApplicantStack user or a new hire to complete does need to reside in the library. We do provide all the state tax forms and update them as they are updated. So as I made mention before, the Illinois state tax form has not been updated since 2021. You'll notice state tax forms have been updated in 2023. And again, our professional services team creates all of those forms at the beginning of the new year. All forms that I assign to my new hires have to be here. Do notice if you collect VEVRA information or CC 305 information, we have those forms ready for you to use as well. You can also add a form unique to your organization. So again, I'm on the gray menu in the upper right, and if I click on Add Form, you can name the form, you can designate the file, and then you can upload that form. So I did upload a form right before this webinar, and it's called Sample Form. So let me go ahead and show you a little bit about that. Once you update a form, you do have the ability to modify or edit the form in ApplicantStack onboarding. I do suggest that prior to uploading the form, you do make it as final as possible with fillable fields, etc. But this is an old W4, but it's a really good example for me to show you some of the editing capabilities of forms in ApplicantStack onboarding. So you'll notice here, this form does require an employee signature, it does require a date, but those fields aren't blue, they're not fillable. So if I come over here to edit form from the gray menu on the right, let's talk about a couple things here. You can name the form whatever you want. You can provide instructions so your candidates know what to do with the form or your ApplicantStack users. And we had mentioned two-part forms previously. There are 4 different form types that you can designate. A form for only your hire to complete, only your employer to complete, and then here are those 2 options for two-part forms. So in this case, the W4 would be a hire then employer. And again, this form needs to be edited a bit. So these are form types over on the left-hand side that I can use. So for employee signature, I would want to bring in a signature field type. And you can have fun sizing it if you'd like. The date field, I would then pull in a date picker. So you can get the idea of the ability to modify your forms within ApplicantStack onboarding. And once I save this form, assign it to a new hire, these fields would then be ready for the new hire to sign and date. And you can see a variety of field types here in the left-hand corner, or left-hand panel, I should say, so that you can modify your forms. All right. Also in the library, we have questionnaires. Just like in ApplicantStack Recruit, you're requesting additional information from your new hires and your ApplicantStack users. You can create questionnaires via the new questionnaire function from the gray menu in the upper right-hand corner. Your message templates would also reside in the library. So I know I've said this, I do have texting in my account, so my message templates will show both email and texting templates. And you remember the welcome to the hiring process email that I sent. This is what it looks like in the library. So with message templates, you can personalize those templates by pulling in merge codes to make them obviously a little bit more unique and personalized for your new hires. See if there's anything else I wanted to discuss in message templates here. This is the message that was triggered when I moved myself from ApplicantStack Recruit to ApplicantStack Onboarding, just so that you get a feel for that as well. That was both an email trigger, an email was triggered and a text was triggered. Tasks within onboarding, again, are any assignments that you want to delegate to not only your new hires, but also ApplicantStack users. We talked about checklists, which is the ability to populate a new hire record by type of hire. So again, you can see the checklists that I have in my ApplicantStack onboarding library. And to create a checklist, it's simply a drag and drop situation. So this could be, test checklist, and anything that you want in order to create the checklist, you can do so by dragging and dropping. So you would want a state, tax form, federal, and then any other tasks and forms that are in your ApplicantStack library, you can use to create a checklist. And then finally, supporting documents in the ApplicantStack onboarding library are those informational documents that we also discussed earlier. You saw those were populated in my new hire record. You can come to the gray menu first option in the upper right-hand corner and add those documents. And if you want a document to automatically default to a new hire, you have the ability to designate that. The final tab across the top in onboarding is reports, just like in ApplicantStack Recruit. So you can create reports on onboarding data. And this is just a very simple new hire report, but I pulled this information or created this report. You can then export the information to a CSV formatted file, such as Excel, and then share the report with those who might have interest in it. Going back to my home tab, and if I click on update settings here, again, from the gray menu on the right, this is where you can modify a couple things, one of which is those portal instructions that I showed you when I accessed my onboarding portal. And this is also where you can upload your company logo for a little bit of branding. That is the product overview of ApplicantStack onboarding. And I think you'll agree with me that it's a very efficient means of assigning new hire tasks to your new hires. The one last thing I want to show you before opening it up to questions is I've talked a lot about automation. So if I click on my picture in the upper right-hand corner, I am a system admin, so I get the setup option here. And if I move to configure and hire workflow, this is advanced functionality, and only ApplicantStack administrators have the ability to access this information. But just to very quickly show you this, this is what I've been talking about in regard to automation. So when I moved from recruit to onboarding, the new stage, an email was triggered and a text was triggered. If I move myself to the paperwork stage, an email is triggered, and then I can choose which checklist is appropriate for the new hire. So continuing with that thought process, as the new hire moves to the orientation stage, again, you can trigger texts and emails. And again, this is what I call kind of the electronic smarts behind your onboarding flow. Just wanted to show you that because I have done things manually, but obviously referred to how automation can take place with ApplicantStack onboarding. All right, that is the overview of ApplicantStack onboarding. Let me go ahead. We're going to open it up for questions. I think some questions might have already been submitted. But what I want to do very quickly, once again, is promote our Workforce Hub University series. Again, the link should be in the chat if you're interested in finding out more about our time tracking and scheduling and HR features and employee engagement. This is, I believe it's a 3-part series, but we'll probably continue. And of course, you can sign up here by scanning the QR code and/or clicking on the link that Lauren put in the chat.
Well, great job, Ellen. Thank you so much for that wonderful explanation of onboarding. And I too will just add that this Workforce Hub series is really excellent and really demonstrates how all of our suite of products can help grow your business and streamline your processes. So we hope you'll join us for that.
Yeah, and Brandon, ApplicantStack administrators will also be getting emails on Workforce Hub University. So if for any reason you miss scanning the QR code or the link in the chat, I believe that email will be going out to all ApplicantStack administrators tomorrow.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Again, good job, Ellen. We do have a few questions that have come through.
Okay.
The first question is, will we receive a recorded copy of the training? And the answer is yes. You will receive a follow-up email thanking you for participating, and there should be a link inside that email with the recording of today's demonstration. Our next question is there a feature that allows a notification be sent to the employer when an applicant texts you? I'm not always in ApplicantStack when they send a text. So yes, there is a feature, and this feature, or setting I should say, is found under the User tab. So if you navigate, and Ellen will demonstrate here with, since she's sharing her screen, you navigate to the user settings and open up the user that you want to set this setting for. There's an option there for under the section user information that says text email notifications. And by turning that on, you will receive an email notification anytime a candidate texts back. Great question, Nicole. Thank you for that. The next question, and I think I'll let you take this one, Ellen. Does a manager need to be added as a hiring manager in ApplicantStack to include him or her on the information page that's sent to the new hire? So I think she's talking about when the new hire logs into the hire portal, there's a box there that shows the manager's information. So how do you set that to be a particular person?
Yeah, that does need to be an ApplicantStack user, and it can be a hiring manager, recruiter, or administrator. So the answer to that is yes, that individual has to be an ApplicantStack user.
And as a follow-up for Keisha, that there's only going to be one person showing there, right? So how do we identify who that person should be?
You would identify who the hiring manager would be as to the best individual that can help the new hire through their onboarding process if they have any questions. So that term hiring manager, it actually could be modified to your HR contact if you want it to show that way. So if I go back to the Hires tab, I click on myself, view portal. I think this is what we're talking about here. Your manager, if I'm not mistaken, your manager can be modified to say your contact or your HR representative. And in order to do so, I would suggest submitting a ticket and asking for that modification to take place. And you can submit a ticket by clicking on the white question mark in the upper right-hand corner and then ask a question. You'll need to fill out this template of information, and once you submit it, it'll be routed to the appropriate person in our technical support team, and a response will be directed to you.
Okay, great, Ellen, thank you. I think Keisha said that answered her question.
Excellent.
Christopher asks, how does one access and view the complete forms by the new hire? So once they're completed, how does a user go in and see those forms?
Okay, so I'm going to leave my account, or excuse me, my new hire record, because I haven't completed anything. Let's access Carter Roberts. And Carter has completed Let's just open up the filters, look at all tasks assigned to him. You can see Carter has completed a questionnaire and 2 forms. So the completed forms will show here. You'll see when the completion date took place. You can view the PDFs if you want to. If you view all forms, it'll come up in one stream. And you can see the information that's been provided by Carter here. And if for any reason you want to save this information outside of ApplicantStack, or if you want to save it to a PDF, you can use your browser in order to do so.
Okay, great, thank you.
Uh-huh.
The next question is, could you explain how it automatically connects to the application and how the employee is able to update that as some have changed their phone numbers or address? So I think what she's asking here is, how does the information pull from Recruit and push to onboarding? And if during the hiring process, a candidate's information changes, like their address or phone number, what's the best way for them to update that, whether it be a user or whether it be the actual hire themselves?
Okay. There are 2 options. One of which is, again, if I click on my hire record, an ApplicantStack administrator and recruiter have the ability to edit a new hire record. So if I move over to the gray menu on the right, one of the options will be edit, and you have the ability to modify information here. And then once you save it, it would be saved in the new hire record. The other option is, again, if I view my onboarding portal, I have the ability to change it here. So it's one of those 2 methods that you could change contact information, for example, if it does get changed during the process.
Okay, good. So once the candidate receives that onboarding portal and accesses that, they can then go ahead and update that information themselves.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Another question is, what, so do we have, do we need to create our own forms, or are some provided? So I think we covered that, the process of creating your own form. So there are some forms that you'll need to create yourself, but there are also some forms that are just part of ApplicantStack, specifically federal forms. So the I-9 and W-4, those are forms that are automatically included in ApplicantStack. And if they're not in your account when it's activated, us in the account management department can import those for you.
And then we do have state tax forms. We do have the CC 305 if you collect disability information, and we do have VEVRA forms already created, ready for your use if you collect that information as well.
Okay. Another question is, what's the difference between, or what's the different purpose behind doing a form or doing just a questionnaire? Why would one want to do one over the other?
Yeah. So a form typically in our world requires a signature, so that e-signature capability, whereas a questionnaire is drawing additional information from your new hires or other ApplicantStack users. So if I move to the library, form templates, these require signatures, whereas questionnaires in my library, I'm requesting additional information, typically from my new hires. That doesn't require a signature.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
And then how long do hires have access to their documents? So I think they're asking about the portal. How long can they access that portal? Does it go away after a certain time, or are they always able to access it?
So best practices, but this is definitely up to you, is that typically you wouldn't want your new hires to be able to access their onboarding portal after that onboarding process has been completed. So in looking at the stages that make up my onboarding flow, my complete stage is what we call an inactive stage. I mean, you still see it there. It's still a stage in my onboarding flow, but you would typically move your new hires to an inactive stage. Once that's done, they cannot access their onboarding portal anymore.
Okay, great. And I think that answer transitions nicely into this next question, which is from Nicole. Is this feature able to be used after hire, such as open enrollment, performance evals? If so, how do we add current staff? So the answer is yes. I have seen accounts use onboarding to do continuing education, performance evaluations, yearly yearly tests that sometimes need to be taken depending on state regulations or what their role is. And so, as Ellen said, we can add a stage, and once they're hired, you'd probably want to move them to an inactive stage, and then as their annual review comes up, then you move them back to an active stage that could be called, for example, annual review or something like that. And so while they're in that stage, paperwork can be sent to them and for them to fill out and complete, and then once that's done, then they can go back to an inactive stage. But that can all be done through the configuration by adding new stages. So yes, the answer is yes, Nicole. All right, the next question. On the onboarding new hire screen, there was a hire that had 0% of paperwork done, but to the right of that, it said complete. Can you explain that, please? Alan?
Yes, this is my demo account. So my demo account can look a little odd, and you have called out an example of that. So I was playing with something here, and you're probably referring to Lulubelle. You're absolutely right. No paperwork, no onboarding tasks have been completed, but she's moved to the new stage. So actually, this could be an example of an individual. You move to the complete stage, it's an inactive stage, maybe they never continued with onboarding, maybe they withdrew from consideration, didn't accept your offer afterwards. So this is not accurate. Thank you for calling that out, because if anybody else questioned it, just know this is my demo account.
Well, and I would add too that complete stage that it's showing for Lulubelle is a stage that was configured by Ellen in her demo account for her demo company. And that could be called any other stage. It's just a name. It's not some kind of official designation. So complete is the name she gave to her stage. It doesn't necessarily mean that all the paperwork has been completed, to your question.
Yep, good add-on, Brandon. Thank you.
Let's see. And the next question is, do the candidates receive the documents as links or PDF? So they receive the documents in the onboarding portal. So maybe you could show that to us again, Ellen. The candidate will get an email welcoming them to the new hire process. That email will include their username, a temporary password, and then a link to the onboarding portal. So once they sign in, they'll see all the tasks that have been assigned to them. And tasks can be comprised of simple to-do items, or they could be comprised of PDFs that need to be completed and signed. Okay, the next question on the supporting forms port. Oh, did you have something to add?
Yeah, this is just very simple, a handbook acknowledgement form. But I did show you the I-9 and then a variety of other forms that you can see here.
Okay, great. Kevin asks, on the supporting forms portion, do we need to click the download button to send to the hire, or is that already done?
Supporting forms, so let me backtrack here for a minute. I'm going to go back into my new hire record, and I think I'm going to answer your question. If not, we'll try again. You'll see these assigned supporting documents. Again, they're informational only. You do once, if I click here, I have the ability to choose what documents I want as my supporting documents in this new hire record. So once I close this, these supporting documents reside in the library. You don't have to do anything more. They'll be included in the portal of your new hire. Brandon, I do want to make sure, and I think I overlooked this. This is a little bit of an add-on. When you add forms that are unique to your organization, I did mention that they, if you can get them in final form, final fillable form, that's always a good thing to do. Any form that you add does need to be in PDF format. If I go to the library, I go to the supporting documents section, add a document here, then you have the ability to hire or upload supporting documents that aren't just PDF format. So I don't know if I answered that question.
I think you did, but
Okay,
we'll see if he chimes in.
excellent.
All right, one question is, can you show how to go from the applicant stage to the onboarding stage? Again, I think this is asking, when she says applicant stage, I think she's talking about recruit. So how do we push a candidate from the recruiting module to onboarding?
So I'm going to move to my candidates tab. I am an ApplicantStack recruit. And again, it's the hired stage that triggers a candidate in recruit to transition to onboarding. Now, the hired stage is the default stage. If for some reason in your ApplicantStack process, in your recruiting process using ApplicantStack, you want that trigger stage to be a different stage, our technical support team can do that. But for example, let's just say John Nicholas, he's interviewed, and I want to move him to onboarding. I have the ability to move John to the hired stage, and that will trigger him to transition to onboarding, specifically the new stage in onboarding.
Okay, great. I'd like to add something to that too. And I hope this isn't an attempt to explain and then I just make it more confusing. But we talked earlier about how the completed stage in onboarding, it's just a stage name. And so that's completely within our control what name we give that. Well, the hired stage in recruit is also a name, and it may not be the best name suited for your workflow. So let me dig a little deeper on that to explain. Oftentimes, the hired stage name can be confusing because we move a candidate to hired in hopes of hiring them, in hopes of having them come for orientation, and in hopes that they will complete their onboarding paperwork. But in practice, we know that a lot of people drop off during that process. And so they're technically not truly hired in a legal sense because they haven't started their first day of work. And so I've come across a lot of accounts that have had just trouble with that naming scheme because they're moving them to the hired stage, but for the reporting or for other purposes, they're not truly hired until they work that first shift. And so for those reasons, you may want to change the name of the hired stage. So I just wanted to add that. Again, I hope it didn't confuse you more than I clarified, but there is some nuance to the names of the stages.
I think you did a spot on job, Brandon. Thank you.
Okay, good. All right. I think we've answered this, but it looks like we might need to go over it briefly again. How do you move a hire to inactive?
Okay, so let me flip back to onboarding. And I'm going to show you my onboarding configuration here. Again, this is advanced functionality, and only ApplicantStack administrators have this option to click on Setup. And you'll notice I am going to move to Configure from the blue menu on the left. And what we're looking at now are workflow stages. Again, I think I'm going to answer your question. These are the workflow stages, onboarding stages in my demo account. And you'll notice that there is a column here designating whether or not they're active or inactive. So you have the ability to modify these stages by clicking on the paper and pencil icon if you want to. So for example, if I wanted to change any of these stages to an inactive stage, maybe withdrawn would be a good example. I can click on the paper and pencil and uncheck and then save, and that would be deemed an inactive stage.
And I would add that when it's in an inactive stage, this designation, whether it's active or inactive, we're defining that stage as to what the candidate is when they're in that stage. So if it's an inactive stage, we're still using the stage. It's still a part of our workflow. It just means that when a candidate is in that inactive stage, they are considered inactive and can no longer access their hiring portal.
Correct.
Okay, that was a confusion I had when I first learned the software, so I'd like to add that.
Yeah, I agree.
What are your retention policies and how do you keep the information safe? For example, social security numbers.
Yes. So there's a couple answers or responses that I want to share with you on that. You can, when you configure a hire field in ApplicantStack onboarding, you can designate whether or not you want that information encrypted. So typically you would want to encrypt a social security number. You may want to encrypt date of birth. So you do have the ability to encrypt data within ApplicantStack onboarding. The second thing I would like to add is we do have a security policy. It's very well defined and documented that you can find if you go to our website and under privacy policies or security policy at the bottom of ApplicantStack or Swipe Clock homepage, our security policies are well defined.
Okay, thank you, Ellen. There was one more question I thought I saw that I think we needed to answer, but maybe, oh, are the tasks mobile friendly as most users are just on their phone? So the hiring portal, is that mobile friendly? Is it easy to sign documents through a mobile phone?
Yeah, absolutely. So once the new hire gets the text or the email saying that they can access their onboarding portal, they can absolutely complete that information via phone.
I think that's all the questions that I can see. Again, great job, Ellen. Thank you so much for your thorough explanation of onboarding, and thank you all for attending.
I know. Yeah. And let me just wrap it up one more time. Again, here's that QR code if you want to take part in Workforce Hub University. And again, many of our ApplicantStack customers are not aware that we offer a suite of products. So you can see once again, we include we offer time tracking and scheduling and HR engagement. And then the final thing I want to mention, and I'm just going to go back to my demo account, is most of you have probably signed up for this onboarding webinar that we just conducted today via the announcement panel on your ApplicantStack homepage. Do note that we have a recruit webinar scheduled for August 22nd, but then we also run what we call Ask Me Anything hours twice a month. So you can actually register for Ask Me Anything via the link on your homepage as well. You can sign up for those Ask Me Anything hours that are of interest. We do provide or review an ApplicantStack function for the first 10 minutes or so of Ask Me Anything hours, and then we open it up to question and answers. That can be, again, anything on ApplicantStack. So lots of information that we like to share with you via these webinars, via the Ask Me Anything hours. And please register and sign up for those opportunities. The next Ask Me Anything is Thursday, July 27th and we will be highlighting our Verified First integration. Verified First offers background checks, and it is a truly integrated product with both ApplicantStack, Recruit, and onboarding. So you can move your candidates, for example, to a background check stage in your Recruit workflow. You can trigger a background check all within ApplicantStack. Verified First will complete that check and then provide you the link to see the results, all again within ApplicantStack candidate records or ApplicantStack hire records in onboarding. All right. Can you think of anything else, Brandon, that I missed?
No, I don't think so. Thank you all for attending, and again, great job, Ellen.
Yeah, it's always fun. Thank you all. We'll see you soon, okay? Bye-bye.